Good evening to everyone. I'm Luz Paulina Albarrán Arreola, and I'm gonna start presenting the Great Depression. The Great Depression. Did you ever knew that some people got wealthier and richer on the Great Depression? Because most of us think that on the Great Depression, it was a recession that affected everyone's economy, but some people knew how to make it in their favor and take advantage of the situation. And today I'm going to explain to you what was the Great Depression, some of its characteristics, and how some people took advantage of it. So let's go for it. Okay, what was the Great Depression? So basically, in the Great Depression, we have the situation in which a lot of people started investing in the stock markets. That's one point of the Great Depression, stock markets. A lot of people started investing because we had the Liberty bonds that the government was giving, which were like bonds and money they were given to invest, and they were taking credit which was money they didn't have, and they were buying and paying later, but it was a later that not soon later. So they were paying with money they didn't have, and the interests were very low, so they started to make like a bubble of economy that was eventually gonna break, and we're gonna see it. So in 1929, an economy downturn on the industrialized world and monetary contraction happened. So as I told you, like that bubble of economy that a lot of people were investing in the stock markets with having any like idea of what that actually really meant happened. And also like the interest was very, very low. And what happens? Like the banks are giving all this money to all these people that is not gonna pay because they don't have the money to pay, and the stock markets is getting higher, the actions are getting higher, and they are getting money. But what happens with the money of the banks? They have no money because they gave all of it. So that's the bubble that's gonna happen. Another thing, the world was getting out of the World War I, and lots of the resources that were consumed by that are no longer there. Like the resources are there, but the demand is not there because the war is over. And what happens? America invested a lot on their farm industry, a lot on their guns and navy industry, but they no longer need it. So what's gonna happen? All of those farmers are not gonna have like if even enough money to produce. And if they produce, they don't have anybody to sell it to because everyone is bankrupt, and they used to sell that to the war, but the war is no longer there. So what happens when the Great Depression hits? Many farmers that used credit to improve their production, like they had the production but no longer the demand. So what are they gonna do without the resources? The overproduction and standard prices. Car manufacturing stopped because who's gonna buy it? Too much money in the stock market, which is what I already told you, and problems in the banking system. Because of all these banks were having all this debt, they started closing the banks. We all have heard that it began with the crash of the stock market, but how did we get there? Well, most of the investments and economy based on Americans was from credit, which ends up with economy uncertainty, massive unemployment. If we don't have like this business and these banks and these different ways to make money, we cannot have employees. So there's no job for people, and there's no way to make money even inside of the country. So how did society, government, and economy dealt with it? Like what happened with society, government, and economy? Society started like getting really desperate about, like, they were hungry, they didn't have any job, they didn't have anything to do, they were in debt. A lot of people were in debt and they could not have any way to pay that. So we found suicides, lots of suicides, people that were not able to pay and decided that it was better to just kill themselves. We found hunger, and we found lots of deaths. People got tired of the situation and they decided, like, we're gonna have to protest for the government to do something. So we found ourselves with lots of protesting from the workers specifically. Another thing, what did the government did? Well, the government tried with economic support to the poor, like they started giving the basic needs like food, some eggs, milk, like the basic things. They give pantries, which is what I already told you. The inauguration of the Commission of Government, which was like an organization that was supposed to make solutions for the Great Depression, and land settlement program, which it was like helping the farmers and lots of things. They started like buying farmers and buying certain businesses things to pump up the economy. But to be honest, even the government didn't have enough money to pump up the economy as much as they wanted. So it didn't really make a change. And what was happening with the economy then? Well, banks closed. Everyone wanted to sell their actions because actions started dropping, like the prices of actions and the value of actions were dropping, insanely dropping. So everyone wanted to pay their taxes, or everyone wanted to pay their debts, and they wanted to sell their actions. And debts were not paid because they didn't have money and they didn't have any way to get that money, even the government. Okay, what took America out of it, and not only America, but like the part of the world that was affected because of it? Well, after various efforts of the government to pump up the economy, to stabilize and help the farming sector to get better, they didn't have like a lot of success. But what really helped the economy and what took America out of this crisis was World War II. And why? Because what do we need for a war? We need resources, we need people, we need primary resources, and we need economy. So what happened? All of those countries that were needing things, that needed guns, that needed industry, that needed oil, well, all of those countries that could not produce it themselves because they were in war started buying to America. And the economy of America became alive again. Although hunger and many economic problems were not like solved from the root, because like it didn't solve the specific problems, but it did help, you know. Well, the other side of the coin, this is where it gets interesting. What happens? We have all these people in hunger, we have all these people without any job, but we also have these few people that took advantage of the situation and knew how to make money out of no money. But it happened mostly like at the ends of the Great Depression, because it was when the economy started to be alive again. Okay, while most part of the America was suffering from hunger and debts, others were taking advantage of the situation to create wealth. For example, we have J. Paul Getty. He started buying everyone what they were selling, which was their actions on the stock market, as well as building an oil empire. So once the World War II got started, they needed oil for transport and for their resources transport, and he made a whole lot of money from oil. Eventually, when the economy started to get better, like these people that had bought the actions in a really low price started getting rich again because the actions started to go up. Another example is Joseph Kennedy. He was involved in stock strategies and invested on entertainment. By stock strategies, I mean like he was predicting that eventually like the bubble of economy was gonna break, and he sell all of his actions before the Great Depression. So he took all that money, like he was smart. He didn't did anything wrong, to be honest. He just was smart and knew when to leave the operation. And also used part of that money to invest in entertainment. What happens when people is sad, when people is have all these problems in their head, they want to survive, they need entertainment. They need something that can take them out of that headspace. So entertainment industry went really, really high, and he knew that, so he invested in that. And then we have a really beautiful woman and really smart woman that knew how to make money under the Great Depression. It was Mae West, and she was an actress in the production of movies and entertainment, as well as Joseph Kennedy. She like started acting in entertainment. She became really famous at the time, and knew that it was what people needed, and she gave them to them. So these are just some examples of how people took advantage of the situation and knew how to act at the moment of crisis. So let's reflect about this. Nowadays, we have certain specific situations where we can find some kind of, not like the Great Depression, but examples of it. One of them is the Silicon Valley recession, which is really new. Another day is nowadays recession, like we see inflation, we see like how the basic needs are getting higher and higher in price, they are getting more expensive. And some economists also think is because of some irresponsible investments, which is what happened on the latest Great Depression. And we also have the war situation. But as we just saw, war can help a country to stabilize their economy, can destroy the economy of lots of countries. As we know, like Ukraine and Russia were selling lots of resources to America, to United States, to parts of Europe, such as gas, natural gas, and many other kinds of energy. And that's just one example of how the economy of other countries is being affected, because they cannot have that resource from them, and they're gonna have to buy it from other countries that are gonna give it way more expensive, and things just get really shaky in that place. And then if we have these examples of what little recessions or things that relate to that moment to nowadays, we can think of different things, such as capitalism. We find that in capitalism, a lot of people with money make more money, because capitalism is like, if you have money, I'm gonna make it bigger, and we're gonna make production, and we're gonna make an investment, and we're gonna make businesses. We have the stock market. The rich gets richer, the poor gets more poor, and finances education, the recession phenomenon. Okay, what do I mean by the finances education? As we just saw, like the irresponsible investments of people led to the Great Depression, as well as many other factors, but that's one of the most important. And also finances education on what to do when a recession begins. When a recession hits and you have to make a decision about your money, when you have to make a decision on how are you gonna handle it to not like destroy your own economy and your bases. Okay, financial education, prevention plans, and economy regulation from the government, knowing that capitalism is always going to favor the privileged ones, but sometimes it cuts evenly. What do I mean by that? Is that, as we just saw, like people with money have it easier to make more money, but sometimes even the ones with lots of money can get hit by life situations, and the Great Depression was one of them. That's why I believe financial education is really important, because it teaches us how to act in crisis, and in that case, in economic crisis. Prevention plans and economic regulation, I mean this for the government. I think that at some point, the US government could have done way more things to act in a smarter way. Maybe if they didn't have the money, they could have made like smarter decisions. And at this point in the world, all countries should have a specific plan on how to act when a recession hits, and how to take care of their people, and how to prevent hunger, even when the situation is really bad. So thanks. This is all for today. I hope you guys learned something from this presentation, and you could take something to your house, or well, maybe not to your house, but you can take a little bit of information from this and reflect about the situations, and maybe it could change your perspective on some things. Bye.